we officially started the company May 11th, 2015. And that week we were working out of a co-working space called Galvanize, only for a week until we found a work-live loft that we eventually settled into. And so that week we started writing code. This was being done by Conrad as well as Rahul. Rahul was doing a lot of the design work as well. And then I started to take care of a lot of the other elements pre-product market fit. And these elements included like helping with some of the incorporation aspects to we were starting to hire like one or two engineers. I took on the recruiting. I've been fortunate to have years of recruiting experience, have interviewed 3,000 plus engineers in my career, had the playbooks in mind. And so the biggest challenges that startups encounter for the most part, the three I would say are finding product market fit, finding the right people, and then fundraising, investing. And we had a strong product and technical team with Rahul and Conrad and our first engineer, Vivek. And Rahul is just a master fundraiser. But the hiring piece was something that they didn't have as a toolkit, as part of their toolkit. And so I took that on initially, and I wore a lot of different hats. It wasn't I was just focused on recruiting. It was, okay, I'm going to do recruiting, plus I'm going to take care of all of these operational aspects with the company, like setting up payroll, for example, setting up HR, setting up all of that. And yeah, so from a recruiting standpoint, scale the team to about 25 people or so until we brought on our now head of people, Kristen Hayward. And her claim to fame was she scaled Zenefits, she scaled Flexport. But prior to that, I was the one who was doing the sourcing, the interviewing, the final interviews, etc. And so I think it's important to let folks who have a zone of genius operate in that zone. And for Conrad, it's writing code. For Rahul, it's product design, marketing. And so for me, I took everything off of their plate as much as possible to kind of let them focus there. And so once we started onboarding customers, we had to have some type of feedback loop and some channel with customers. And in the very beginning, it was Rahul, Conrad, and our current head of strategy and analytics, Gaurav, where he served as a generalist, a Swiss Army knife as well. And it was them answering like 5 or 10 emails a day. But once we really started onboarding customers, I remember looking at, and mind you, I'm still like managing a lot of our recruiting functions. I remember looking at how Rahul was keeping track of customer issues, and he had a Google Sheet. I think it was a Google Sheet or an Excel spreadsheet. And I was like, wow, this is jank. Like, this is not going to scale. And I was like, how do you know how many people are requesting calendaring, for example? And he would do a Control F search. I'm like, well, let me type scheduling. Okay, so you missed those people who mentioned scheduling, which is kind of in the same vein of calendaring. And so that's where I then built out our CRM, so to speak, an Airtable, set up Zapier connections, etc. And then I remember I spent an entire week and I pulled some all-nighters to retroactively tag about 10,000 pieces of customer feedback to issues and feature requests and whatnot. We surprisingly still use this instance. I was hoping we'd wean off of it by now, but yeah, we have, I don't know, however many tens of thousands of customers and I don't know, however many pieces of feedback, but it's still going strong. And so while I was running a lot of our recruiting functions, I was answering customer emails. And I think at one point it scaled to about 100 emails a day. So I'm like, just like trying to go super fast. And we had a goal of getting back to customers within 5 minutes. So it's like we would get an email and I would try to respond in 5 minutes. And so it's constant context switching, which is incredibly painful for someone who has ADHD. And so I'd been diagnosed with ADHD. And this was actually during the period of just depression, a few months of depression with shutting down my company. And I saw a psychiatrist about this. And they're like, you've been diagnosed with ADHD. Here's some meds if you'd like to take some. And so it's incredibly painful to do this constant context switching, but it's what the company needed. And then we eventually brought on our first customer delight specialist. And then I started to hand the reins over to that person. And now we have an entire organization, entire team around what we call customer delight. Other organizations call customer support.